And, I'm hoping that we can channel all of the energy that's been around for the last week or so into some productive long-term strategies. The first point I want to make is take a deep breath and don't panic. It's not the time to be taken to the streets right now, to be jumping to conclusions and to be really making fools of ourselves when we need to be talking about real, reasonable steps we can take to address these concerns in this debate. I want to focus the discussion on three main points, and I think that there's a lot of, red herrings around which people have been focusing on, which tend to be easy to disprove. For example, the most important one is that a lot of people have cast this as an argument about broadband speed, and I think that while there are certainly some interesting effects, it's not that difficult to have a 10,000 to 1,000 to 10,000 URL blacklist which operates by bypass filtering of the URL. It's not going to make a significant difference to our access. What's more concerning about is the issues that Nick was raising here about the structure of the plan rather than the speed. So I'd like to see us stop focusing on speed as a main issue and start looking at some other things. The three things I propose, and the three things I want EFA is starting to talk about, or wants to focus on, again, the category of refuse classification is much broader than child sexual abuse material. Conroy has absolutely wiped the floor with us in this debate by creating a debate about child sexual abuse material. It is absolutely impossible to, it's not absolutely impossible, it is extremely difficult to fight this when Conroy and everyone on that side of the fence are saying this is about people wanting access to child porn, and we need to stop that. We need to talk about this ideology and talk about how child porn actually only makes up 18% of the current blacklist. It makes up 33% of the RC only list. So the current blacklist, as Nick points out, covers RC material, covers X18 and R18 plus material, and some MA15 plus material, which is about one mobile phones. 18% of that entire blacklist is child sexual abuse material, which is something about maybe 300 URLs. Conroy is now talking about a smaller RC only blacklist, which is a subset, about half to a third of the current blacklist, which only covers RC material. Even so, child sexual abuse material is only a third of that list. So 2/3 of that list is material that's not illegal to possess in Australia, not illegal for adults to see or to have. The second point I want to make is that the key to protecting children is education, empowerment, supervision, and voluntary filtering. We need to cast this as a positive argument. What can we do to help the people who don't understand the threats online to understand how to protect themselves and their children? I think we need to be sending a positive message, not a reactive, negative message. And, as Nick said, the key to combating child sexual abuse is to fund police and foster intervention preparation. We have good groups here in Queensland. Task Force Argos does a very good job of infiltrating peer-to-peer networks where child sexual abuse material is traded and laying charges. And that's where we need to be focusing our energy. Dollar for dollar, in realist economic terms, government is going to be better off investing in police, counselling, education, all of these things, rather than filtering, which, as we've seen, is not going to be effective to achieve any of these goals. All right, so I'm going to keep this short because I do want to open this up and talk to everyone here about where we go from here. And before I do that, I just want to talk quickly about some of the things we've got going on. I want to preface this by saying letter writing is still the most effective thing you can do. If you haven't written lately, write to your elected representatives, write to the minister, write to the senator, write to the federal members, write to the opposition and the crossbenchers. Michael Malone's got a great news site up, gift@censorship.com, promises to send Christmas cards and definitely sign up for that one. One thing we're pushing quite hard at the moment, we're looking for national online blackouts. Jeff Moore on Twitter talking about that, moving your changing your avatar obviously is a small step. What we want to do is have a week-long blackout on the week starting 25 January, and on Australia Day we want to have a national day of action. Now, I'm not terribly convinced that protests are a good way to go about at this stage. I think we had quite poor showings at the last protest last year, and I think that was a bit embarrassing for the cause, really. So what we're looking for at the moment is volunteers to go out to Australia Day celebrations and pitch a tent or a desk, and apart from that also have other spin-off meetings where we can have more of a party or a celebration than a protest. My model for reference is something like the Toastables that were organised this year. I mean, really good, fun atmosphere, great way to build awareness. I think that the people who organised that did a great job, and we could learn a lot from doing that sort of thing again. Hopefully around 26th January we can build national coverage over a fairly concentrated set of events.